Hi, and welcome to another Sneak Peek Saturday at the Alameda Free Library. My name is Jenny, and today we're going to read Eat the Buddha. This is what it looks like, and the subtitle is Life and Death in a Tibetan Town, and the book is written by Barbara Demick. Great author, by the way. Also wrote Nothing to Envy, Ordinary Lives in North Korea, if you want to check that book out as well. Really good. The book itself has, of course, it has a table of contents, but it also has a couple of maps in here. So there is a map of China, and then we have a close-up map from Ngaba, where the town is that we're going to read about next. And this is part 1, which is from 1958 to 1976. And the first chapter is called The Last Princess. And we can see here the royal family of Nagba. Right here, they have some cool pictures here as well. All right. 1958. Gongpo could smell the smoke before she could see what was happening. Although she was just 7 years old and not well versed in the politics of the day, it confirmed a nagging feeling she'd had for weeks that something was amiss. She was on her way home with her mother, sister, and aunt, and a convoy of servants. They had been away attending the funeral rituals for her uncle. It had been summer when they set out for her uncle's village, but they'd been away for 49 days, the traditional mourning period between death and rebirth for Buddhists. Now it was early autumn, and the evening chill whispered of the snow that would soon creep down from the mountain tops. Gangpo wore a thick sheepskin robe trimmed with fur, but the wind whipped up from underneath her, hoarse, and made her shiver. Everybody was on horseback. Gangpo, like most Tibetans, was a seasoned equestrian at a young age. They followed the course of a road that had recently been laid out by Chinese military engineers, though not yet paved, heading due west into the setting sun. Their route forked off at a stream that led north to Gongpo's home, and as they emerged from behind a thicket of shrubbery, Gongpo could see where the smoke was coming from. From her vantage point atop the horse, she had a clear view of half a dozen bonfires and a corresponding number of tents. As they approached, they could see that they weren't the black yak hair tents used by Tibetans, but the small white tents of the People's Liberation Army. This was 1958, 9 years after Mao Zedong had proclaimed the People's Republic of China, so it was not unusual to see encampments of the Red Army around the countryside. But this was on the family property, and that was surprising. Gangpo had been fighting off sleep on the last leg of the 2-day trek, but now she was jolted awake by curiosity and a touch of fear. She was one of the first to dismount, sliding off her horse without waiting for the servants to help her. She ran up to the gate, wondering why nobody had come out to greet the returning convoy. She banged hard on the gate, a slab of wood twice as high as a grown man, with a massive lintel across the top. There was no response, so she shouted out the top of her lungs, "Hello? Hello? Where is everybody?" Her mother walked up behind her and called out as well. Eventually, Gangpo's nanny came and unlocked the gate. Instead of a warm welcome, the maid leaned over the child as if she weren't there, bringing her face close enough to Gangpo's mother to whisper directly into her ear. Gangpo couldn't hear the words, but she discerned from her mother's reaction that it couldn't be good. Gangpo had seen her mother crying a lot lately. The uncle who died had been her favorite brother, and Gangpo thought maybe her mother was crying again because she was still sad about his death. At least that's what Gangpo wanted to believe, in spite of all the evidence to the contrary. The smoke, the tents, the stone-faced maid. Her instinct told her that this was the beginning of the end of the world as she knew it. Gangpo was raised a princess. Her father, Pelgan Rapton Tinley, a name that roughly translates as honorable enlightenment steadfast, was the 14th in a line of rulers in what was known as the Mei Kingdom. Its capital was Nagba, in what is now Sichuan province. When Gangpo was born in 1950, Nagba was a nondescript market town where traders came to sell salt and tea and where herders came to sell their butter, skin, and wool. This entire region was a patchwork of small fiefdoms governed by various chieftains and kings, princes, khans, and warlords. The Chinese used the term tuzi, often translated as landlord, to refer to local rulers like Gangpo's father, but the Tibetans called him Gyalpo, or king. English language chronicles from the early 20th century also refer to him as royalty. That was certainly how Gangpo received her family's position in society. As a child, Gangpo was dressed in the floor-length robes called tubas, cinched at the waist. Almost all Tibetans wore similar garments, the quality reflecting their status. Gangpo's robes were trimmed with otter fur. Around her neck she wore robes of beads big as grapes, coral, amber, and most precious of all, zi, a Tibetan striped agate thought to protect against the evil eye. Otherwise, she wasn't a very girlish princess. She was cute rather than pretty, with gapped teeth and a snub nose. It gave her the look of a mischievous little boy. Like many young girls in Nagba, Gangpo had her hair cropped short, a signal that she was not of marriageable age. Her mother and other adult women in the royal family wore long braids, held in place by tassels and strands of coral, so elaborate that they might take servants 2 days to braid. The family lived in an imposing manor house, technically a palace, though it looked more like a fortress, stout and sturdy, built to endure, located on the east end of Nagba, just outside the downtown area. The house was designed in a traditional Tibetan style out of rammed earth, dun colored so that it blended into the landscape during the dry season. When the plateau was bare of grass, the massive walls, up to 9 feet thick at the bottom, tapered inward toward the top to provide stability in case of earthquakes. The narrow slits of windows were similarly trapezoidal, framed by wooden latticework. The walls were unadorned except for 2 protruding wooden balconies on either side, one on the east, the other on the west. The balconies looked elegant, but in fact they accommodated the toilets. Human waste dropped below, where it was mixed with ash and spread in the fields as fertilizer. What the house lacked in modern amenities, it made up for in scale. It measured 80,000 square feet, with more than 850 rooms ranging from dungeons, stables, and storerooms on the very bottom to the rooms of increasing elegance and purpose as they rose upward. There were the bedrooms for the children and their mother, then the king's retinue of assistants and his private officers. The rooms on the upper level were paneled in wood that masked the dirt exterior. The upper floor was appropriately dedicated to spiritual practice. The rooms came alive with frescoes and tenkas, Tibetan wall hangings, all in eye-popping shades of poster colors. Since Buddhist figures are reincarnated over and over again, they appear in countless manifestations, male and female, familiar and fanciful. There was the Buddha, past and future, and many more of the bodhisattvas, enlightened beings who forego nirvana to be reborn for the benefit of others. The most prized piece was a statue of Avalokitesvara, or Chenrezig, the Bodhisattva of compassion, the patron saint of Tibetans, given to the king by the 14th Dalai Lama, the centerpiece of his chapel. Okay, I'm going to stop here tonight. I have not finished this book yet, but I have read her other book, Nothing to Envy, so I'm very excited to finish this as well. She has a great writing style, and if you would like to check it out, it's in the news section. It's nonfiction, and again, the title is Eat the Buddha by Barbara Demick. If you would like to place a hold on it, you can do so, and then come pick it up at the library. Like always, thank you for listening, and I see you next week Saturday.